the NSLS-II Show with your hosts, Matthew Whitaker, Mark Dean, Simmerjeet Gill, with special guests, Stuart Campbell, Teresa Daniels, Chuck Black, and John Hill.
I'm Matt Whitaker, the Vice Chair of the Users Executive Committee here at the NSLS-II, and joining me as always is our co-host, Mark Dean, who is the past Chair of the NSLS-II UEC. Mark, it's good to see you again.
Good to see you.
So we have a really packed show today, so we're hoping to get things going right away. We've got 4 guests that are going to be joining us, and the first one up, you may have noticed from the videos, is Stuart Campbell. So he's going to join us right now. Good to see you, sir.
Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So it's very good to have you here on the show. Now you are, according to your own words, the most boring man ever, and there's nothing that I can give the crowd to humanize you in any way, shape, or form.
I don't think so, but that, was before I met you and got to know you better. So
I see what you did there. Nice, nice. All right,
yeah,
cool.
I have met the Queen in the past.
Dude,
so,
I love Queen.
Yeah, they rock.
Yeah, totally. So Stuart, you're the head here of the group leader of the Data Acquisition Management and Analysis Group. And so a lot of the things that we've had come in as questions from users in the past have been related to data in some way or form. And so you are kind of in charge of the master architecture of the Blue Sky system, which runs everything here. Yes. So can you give us kind of like a 5,000-foot overview of what Blue Sky is and how it works?
Cool. Yeah, so in a nutshell, Blue Sky is both the data acquisition system, but it's also become sort of the name, the brand for a lot of interconnected parts of software we have, from dealing with the hardware through to the organization, the scanning part of it. And then also we have something called Data Broker that standardizes on a data API to get your data rather than worrying about all the different file formats. And then from that, you can export data to files.
Very cool. So now this involves a lot of different types of data too, depending on the beamline that you're using and the technique that you're using to measure the sample.
So this is one reason that we went down the data broker route, because we found that we're writing lots and lots of code to deal with every special case and every special program. So by just doing it once and standardizing on an interface, an API to the data, rather than having to worry about every file format, reduces our workload and the simplicity of the data access a great deal.
Right. Now this is something that's not only going on here at NSLS-II anymore, but this is something that's catching on with all of the light sources now,
so,
right?
We're working very closely with the 5 light sources, including us. So we started to develop systems, and we're starting to work as a sort of single development team and as a coherent body. So LCLS at Slack, they've been using Blue Sky for a year or 2 now, I think, quite a while. APS are going to use it for their upgrade beamlines. ALS is starting to look at it, and SSRL are also looking at it. So that's within the US, but then overseas we've got at least 2 other facilities that are actually running it in production.
So when it comes to coordinating and organizing this whole thing, are you in charge of the entire thing? Is this all under your umbrella, or is there an individual that kind of...
So what we've tried to do is, so we used to host everything under the NSLS-II sort of umbrella, but recently we've spun it out to try and make it its own project, so it's not... So it could be felt as more of a community project than just us owning it. So we've created our own website for the project, which is blueskyproject.io, and there we have loads of tutorials, how to contribute, lots of documentation. So we're sort of trying to make it a thing that's just bigger than just us. So we don't, we're not in dictatorial control of it.
Mm. Now, how does this relate to data storage issues?
So so Data Broker is really 2 parts. It's a store for the sort of the metadata and the small data that's going on, and then there's a back end that's more of a larger, and this then can sometimes lead to performance issues can hit the back end storage, and that can and connectivity issues between different machines. Because at the moment the machine you're accessing from needs direct access to read the files directly. This is something we're trying to work on and abstract that out, so you just will access a data portal, and it will go off and get the data from wherever it's actually stored and give it to you in whatever form you want, whether that's arrays or a TIFF file or whatever you want.
Right.
So that's what we're doing at the moment.
Okay.
Cool. So one question we get fairly often from users is, how can I take my data home to my home institution?
So yeah, to be frank, this is something we've struggled with, I think, quite a while. We have the way NSLS-II grew very organically, so we have a lot of different architectures and storage and networks. So we're trying to standardize how we connect to the outside world. So we're working closely with SDCC over the road, which is the B&L Scientific Data and Computational Center, to provide some help and support, because they're used to running big data repositories. And then we're trialing a tool called Globus, which will give fast access for users to download data. So that is there's still some issues we need to work out with user accounts and authentication and that side of things, but that's where we're going at the moment. So people will just be able to get a download link and just download their data directly.
So I'm glad you clarified that, because when you first said SDCC, I was wondering what the San Diego Comic-Con had to do with what we were talking about at all in any way, shape, or
well,
form.
it's
Related. All right, very cool. So are there any questions from any of the people who were present in the room regarding data that Stuart can answer? The other thing that I forgot to mention at the top of the show is there are 4 ways that you can submit questions if you are watching remotely right now. We have an email address that's open, NSLS-II UEC at bnl.gov. You can also submit questions on to BNL's Twitter, the Vimeo link at which you are watching this video, or through YouTube. So if you have any questions throughout the duration of the show, please send them in and we will try to get them answered for you. Are there any other questions? Are there any questions at all from the people in the room? No.
wow, awesome.
Let me tell you, okay, so this guy here has been so worried about all the questions that were going to be asked to him while he was up here. And did you pay everybody to not say anything? Or
No, it was more threats and fear, I think.
Oh.
I went that route.
Well, that
I'm
works.
not rich enough to pay everyone.
That's
so,
true. That's true.
yeah, intimidation, I thought it's the way forward.
Yeah. That's the first word I think of when I see you, is intimidation. All right, well, if there aren't any questions, please, let's thank Stuart again.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Okay.
Cheers, Mark. Thank you.
All right, so at this time, we are going to move on and bring up our second guest. And our second guest today is Teresa Daniels, and she is the Deputy for Operations here at NSLS-II. Teresa. Very good to see you. So, now I understand that one of your hobbies that you are most fond of is hiking. Is that right?
That's right. I like to hike with my friends on the weekends and hike with my family when we go on vacation.
Where might be one of your favorite places to go hiking?
So recently, my favorite place would have been Yellowstone. We had a family trip to Yellowstone and really enjoyed that, the wildlife and the hiking.
See, now I'm a geologist. So Yellowstone, that evokes very, very fond memories for me. So when you were there and hiking, did you happen to run across any bears?
Well, I guess I would say I did see bears. I didn't run across bears, thank God. But there definitely were bears that we were able to see in some of the valleys or when we were driving through Yellowstone. So, but they do have a big population out there, and they do tell you to be bear aware. So one of the things that they told us when we actually got off the plane is you can check out your bear spray right here, and something we did take part of. So when we were hiking, we had bear spray with us. So.
But you didn't have to use it?
Thank God we didn't have to use it now.
Not even on annoying family members?
Not maybe. Well, maybe. We did have 6 kids with us, so.
Wow.
Not
So
all. I should have said extended family.
Okay,
Yeah.
all right. So
Not all mine.
speaking of bear spray, food service at NSLS-II and BNL.
Yeah. I could see
So,
that.
yeah. So you are the best person to ask for this information because you have the most up-to-date and comprehensive knowledge about this topic. So I know there have been several emails that have been sent out to the user community regarding food services here at BNL, and you have some major updates to give. So please.
So we do have some updates this week. So the lab has selected a vendor for a micromart service to the laboratory. So specifically for building 740 and for building 400. So they're going to be providing a service, hopefully in the near term. They're on site this week looking at our spaces, making recommendations to the laboratory. They'll provide what you typically find in a micro-mart, sandwiches, breakfast products, salads. They're going to have also a Starbucks self-serve machine. One of the things that's going to be good about this vendor is that they're going to have an app associated with the vendor so that they'll be able to monitor inventory real time and also receive feedback. So if we're not happy with the selections we have or want to suggest something else, we can provide feedback real time, and they'll be able to monitor that and keep up with the usage and the utilization of the micro-marts. So another thing to point out too is I mentioned that they're going to be having it in 400 and 740. They would like to expand it around the laboratory, so that's something that you may see in other places as it grows. They're also looking at the 488, which is Berkner, where the cafeteria was. So what can they put in there for the near term to help with the situation with the cafeteria?
And when you say near term, about when do you expect to start seeing some actual the Micromart service on site?
Right, so they're looking to sign the contracts this week. Like I said, they're looking at the spaces. They're hoping to have our Micromart here in 740 probably the next 3 to 4 weeks. So, yeah, that'll be good. It'll be good for all our hungry bears. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. So they'll have that available. But again, as we go through this period while we're waiting for the vendor, we still have the opportunity to use our local businesses, restaurants that provide delivery services, DoorDash, Uber Eats. If people aren't familiar with that, our staff can help you. We also have some cabinets here where we supply some breakfast materials. If people come in and they haven't been able to go shopping or don't have supplies, they can ask our staff for breakfast. We have increased the shuttle service. So shuttle to the shopping center is now Tuesday, Thursday. I believe it's from 5 to 8:30 every Tuesday, Thursday, and then Saturdays in the morning from 8:30 to 12:30. So you can go to the shopping center. There's other department stores there too, so if people need to get something. So.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Now, one of the other cool developments lately is that there's actually now a hotel right across the street. Is that
right
right?
Across the street. We have a new hotel, Home 2 Suites. I think it opened up in January. We've received some recent feedback from some of people that attended our 5-way meeting here this week that they liked the hotel, that it's a nice modern hotel, it's close. They have a shuttle here to the laboratory. They have a Micromart inside. And so, yeah, in that shopping center, as they develop it, there will be other opportunities for restaurants to come in and all. So.
Cool.
So we've seen some activity in building 742 around the ring. Can you update us on that?
So I think today we made an announcement, John Hill made an announcement that we do have a new common area open. So our facilities folks and our user office have been working with our staff to understand and our users where they may want to have some new interaction spaces, and so they did build out a new space in the lobby of 742. It has some couches, it has a TV where you can stream some shows. It also has some game tables, so we're looking for feedback on that space. So the game table's ping pong table and foosball, and so we're hoping that people will take a break, re-energize, and socialize a little there.
Nice.
All right, and that joins the lounge space that the UEC provided up in the lobby of 740
Absolutely.
earlier this year.
Yep, so we have many spaces, and it is nice because that's going to be near the Micromart. That is near the Micromart.
Right.
So, yep.
That's very
Okay.
cool.
Yep.
So you mentioned something also yesterday when we were talking about there's going to be a quiet space added into 745, right?
So we're working right now, and we'll be soliciting feedback. We're looking to have a quiet space, so someplace where there's no TVs, there's just quiet where people can regenerate. So we're soliciting feedback on the, I guess it would be on the seating and equipment that we'll have in that room. It'll be in 745, and we're hoping by the next meeting we'll have some updates on that too.
Okay,
Yeah.
great.
Thanks for asking.
As a member of the UEC, I would like to advocate for the purchase and installation of a PlayStation for the TV in 742.
I say, why not?
Asking for a friend. So, all right. Are there any questions that anybody in the room has for Teresa, or anyone online if they've submitted any?
Not yet. We just had a compliment.
Oh, compliments are good too. I like those. Yeah. So no further. Oh, Lisa. Oh, yeah. All right, so just a real quick explanation to the people watching at home or not here. This is a microphone that you throw at the audience. So when they have a question, they'll be getting this. I unfortunately have no athletic ability whatsoever, so I'm going to toss it over to Mark, who was just earlier bragging about his arm.
I'm going over a camera.
Over the camera.
All right, okay, I'll do this one. No, I got it.
Up and over.
Yeah, very good.
That was worth it. So you mentioned the micromarts in the short term. Can you say anything about the longer term thoughts for the laboratory and food services?
So right now we're concentrating on the micromart, as I said, getting the contracts in place and getting all the equipment in place. Building out the micromarts across the laboratory will be important too. So what other spaces can we take advantage of, including the cafeteria? But what we've been told, nothing is off the plate, so they're looking at other opportunities down the road. So one of the things they're considering and they will work on next is possibility of having food trucks.
All right.
Can we do one of these with that? Food trucks.
Food trucks. Food trucks. Good idea. Was that your first time throwing up the metal horns?
Yes.
That's awesome.
It was a little awkward. I'm like
I feel like that's something that you need to continue.
Yes.
That's definitely something. Are there any other questions? Yeah, we want to throw that as much as possible today, so. All right, if not, thank you, Teresa,
Thank
again.
you. Thank you.
All right, so you want to toss it back up this way? Oh, I got it. All right, cool. So our third guest for this edition of the NSLS-II UEC Show will be Chuck Black. He's the director for the Center for Functional Nanomaterials. Chuck. All right, pleasure to have you, sir. So now, in keeping with the theme of humanizing everyone who comes up here on the couch, you personally enjoy running, is that right?
Right, so sure, we were talking yesterday about something we could talk about first to try to make me seem like a person. Mm-hmm. And it was not so easy for me to come up with something, but I decided to pick something that I like talking about, which is running. I think like many of us, I started running as I became an adult and was looking for ways to stay healthy, blah, blah, blah. But, you know, since I became CFN director about 4 years ago, I've rediscovered the best thing about running, and that is when you're running, you don't have to be talking. Because one of the biggest transitions I had to make when I became director was that my whole job became talking. Like I just spend the whole day talking. And I like talking, but it's exhausting. So running is great because you're not talking.
Yeah, I stopped running. You may not be able to tell because I'm definitely not a runner, so I can't relate to this story, but thank you for sharing it with us. So one of the main reasons that we wanted to have you here on the show is to talk a little bit about the upcoming workshop that is being planned between the NSLS-II and the CFN here for potential industrial users. So I wanted to give you a platform where you can kind of introduce the idea and kind of discuss what the purpose of the workshop is and where it's going.
Absolutely, and super happy to be here. And before I even tell you about the workshop, I just wanted to compliment you on this incredible television show. Like, I can't believe the enthusiasm that you guys have. This is really an amazing event. So I'm happy to be a part of it and happy to be here to tell you about this workshop, which is another exciting activity that CFN and NSLS-II have been working on together. We're planning this workshop, and we're planning a workshop specifically targeted to helping users, researchers from industry who may not be users of Brookhaven facilities for a variety of reasons. We're planning to target a one-day workshop specifically to speak to them, to try to help them understand a few different things. One is that the amazing capabilities that we have here can help them. The other is to help them understand that all the administrative reasons that they may think it's not possible for them to take advantage of these facilities may or may not be actual impediments. So we want to help teach them that we can help them navigate the process of becoming a user. And the last thing that we want to help them understand is that the Department of Energy has significant resources to help support users from industry, such as grants for small businesses, technology maturation grants. So we're planning to have representatives from the DOE here to help attendees understand not just the facilities, but kind of the whole DOE infrastructure that's meant to help support them. So it's going to be a super exciting event. And I haven't even gotten to the most exciting part, which is, this is something which is making all of us extremely nervous, because we decided to try to do something outside the box a little bit. And that is, we were sitting around, and there are people from NSLS-II and CFN, a number of staff members involved in all the organizing committees, and we were thinking about, how can we reach these people? We can have the usual workshop, give a bunch of talks, sit around, and then go home and get back to your life. We've tried that many times. We want to try something different. And so what we've settled on and what we're striving for this time is to run this workshop essentially like an open house. After a short session in the morning, attendees are going to be turned loose and be able to roam around the two different facilities and observe instruments in action while they're being operated by the staff. In some cases, taking measurements on samples that the participants have brought themselves that day. And the goal for the workshop is to try to send people home, not just with, hey, that was a fun day, I heard some good talks, but with information about their sample that they didn't know. And the idea is that what better way to teach people that you're of value than to show them your value, like while you're there. So this is the goal. A lot of us are doing some significant thinking and planning about how to pull this off or to approach pulling off. It's going to be in the spring. It's going to be fun, exciting, and we're looking forward to it.
As you mentioned, it's going to be a little bit hair-raising too because of that uncertainty aspect that you've got.
Yes, but as we've learned in the national labs, right, the way to approach that is plan, right? We make a plan. That's what we talk about here. So if you want to mitigate risk, you make a plan. So we're deep into planning.
Nice. How many meetings are associated with that plan?
We won't get into that.
Right.
Also, as well as industry people, I would say there's a lot of NSLS-II users who maybe don't take advantage of the proximity of CFN in the way they should. Can you give some hints as to how an NSLS-II user might start thinking about using CFN?
Yes, Mark, thank you for asking the question that I planted, because you've now hit on the real reason that I'm here, which is to help everyone understand that, and I think I'm just going to go ahead and speak for NSLS-II and CFN, that I think all of us would be happy if every user that came here used both. In other words, we're neighbors, we're right next to each other, we do a lot of projects together, such as organizing this workshop. We operate several instruments in partnership with LightSource 2, but the idea is there is already a connection between the two facilities, and it's one that we're quite proud of and one that we would like more of. And so I'm here to try to encourage every user watching at home, all of this stuff, to check it out. If you get here and you're like, I didn't prepare my sample quite right, and that's too bad because I had to wait 6 months to get this beam time. Just come over, and if there's something we can do to help, we would like to help. And so I would say that's the first step, is just walk on over. Instead of going to play the PlayStation 5 that you guys are getting, come on over to the CFN and have a chat and see what we're about, and we'll take it from there. We love showing off our place, and we would love it if there are things that we have that can help you all with your work. And I should say, I have a nasty habit of not thanking people when I speak, because as you can tell, I just tend to I have to thank the UEC of NSLS-II and of CFN, who have both provided support for this workshop that we're having. So the workshop we're having in May for industry researchers is partially your workshop too. So thank you for that.
No problem. I say that personally. You just opened the floodgates for all of our users to come over and just play with all of your stuff. So I'm totally happy.
Well, you do have
supporting
to
your
be able to
workshop.
badge into the lab, so you can look at them.
Very cool. So are there any questions that anybody here has for Chuck, or anybody online for that matter? I really want to throw the microphone again. Brandon? No?
So if no one else, I'll take it.
Go for it.
Throw
You're
it.
not going to throw it? Oh, you even made it. So I guess I actually don't need it. So I have
Right.
It was fun.
Cool.
So maybe you say in a couple of sentences what sort of toys you have over at CFN for those who don't have much idea.
When we're trying to distinguish ourselves among user facilities, what we often say is that we have capabilities in CFN to help people make materials. So this is kind of chemistry ways of making materials, and also more traditional nanofabrication. So if you're trying to create something that you're going to then measure somewhere else, like, we can help you with that. But we also have a very good set of capabilities for helping people characterize their materials in ways that are complementary to using X-rays. So we have a very nice set of modern electron microscopes. Our facility is in keeping with the Brookhaven theme. We've built a facility that is designed for in situ studies. So, you know, the idea is you watch your sample with an electron microscope while it's doing something, while you're heating it or biasing it or something like that. We also have a very nice set of surface science tools. So if you're interested in understanding the structure or the chemistry of surfaces, there are a lot of versatile instruments over there for that. So I would say those are some of the things, but I don't want to take up all the time, so you're just going to have to come over and check it all out.
Okay, thanks.
All right. Any questions? All right. If not,
Thank you very
Chuck,
much.
very much for coming out.
Thanks.
All right. So at this time, we're going to bring up our fourth guest, our true ratings draw, our returning champion, John Hill, the director of NSLS-II. All right, sir.
Good to see you again.
Yeah, you too. So the last time you were here, you
Yes.
mentioned the fact that you were a relatively new yoga practitioner.
I remember.
And it took a little bit of doing, but we managed to obtain some pictures of you in full yoga gear performing.
I'm 100% sure you don't have any such pictures.
I'm 100% certain you're right, but it was worth a shot just for that moment that we had just now. So as always, there's a lot of things going on here at NSLS-II, so I'm just going to turn the floor over to you, and you can let us know what's been going on.
Thank you. Thank you for having me back again.
Absolutely.
Pleasure to be here. A few things I thought I'd update you all on that's going on around the floor. But I want to start with safety, because we've had a phenomenal year so far for safety this fiscal year. We've had no DARTs, as they call, no TRCs, no injuries at all, not even a first aid since we started. So that's really good news. Yes, definitely. So I wanted to thank everyone for their attention to safety and congratulate them on their performance, and just acknowledge that that means no one's been hurt at NSLS-II this year, and that's a really good feeling. We don't want people to ever get hurt. So that's great. That's been a wonderful story. So I want to start with that. A few words about the Accelerator and what we're doing there. As you may remember, last year we lost an RF cavity for a while, and we had to run at 220 milliamps. That was a big disturbance for a cycle. What we've been doing in the meantime is we've got the replacement cavities in, and now we have a spare that we've been commissioning and testing. So as of December, that's now been tested at high voltage and low temperatures. So that means we have two running in the ring right now and a spare ready to go. So if it ever happens again, we lose a cavity, we can swap that in. There'd be some down period, but we would not ever have that long cycle of 220 milliamps. So that's a really good place for us to be. So we're happy to have that. Meanwhile, developing RF transmitters to be able to power that third cavity, so then we could push the power up towards our ultimate goal of reaching 500 milliamps down the line. Because we know that's where we want to end up, we're already doing studies at 500 milliamps now. In fact, this last studies period we ran at 500 milliamps for 6 or 7 hours. That's the longest we've been up at that current so far. We can only do that right now with all the undulated gaps open because we don't have the RF power to run at that high current. But it allows us to look at what's going on when we run at those very high currents. And so we're finding hot spots around the ring that we need to get in and fix and things like that. So this is a really good learning experience for us for when we actually can run at those high currents and deliver that to the users, which is where we want to get to. So that's really good news, and that's where the Accelerator is. The reliability has been very good this year too, so the Accelerator feels like it's in a good place right now. On the construction side, in terms of new beamlines that we're building, we're making progress there too. So we've got our first IR beamline now into the general user program. So the FIS beamline went in a couple of weeks back. So now that's the 27th beamline that's in the general user program of our 28 beamlines. So that's also really good news. The hex beamline is under construction, has been for a while, but if you now go out on the floor, you see there's real dramatic evidence of that. The hutch is up, the first optics enclosure is up, the building is going up, and we're on schedule to finish that beamline the end of next year, so December 21, that'll be finished. I know it's a favorite of yours.
Right.
And then the cryo-EM is the other construction activity that's going on right now. That's also making really good progress. The building is essentially done. The microscope's actually in the building, still in the crates, but at least it's in the building. We'll be unpacking those crates probably next month and begin commissioning that microscope, and that should be in operations sometime in this summer to deliver the really high-resolution electron microscopy for the biology community. So we're really excited to see that up and running too. So those are sort of the activities that are going on the floor. We've got the MIE, the next construction project, coming up. That's in the planning stages now. We have a big review for that this summer, the so-called CD1 review, which will start that process really underway. We've got money this fiscal year to run that project, and the goal is to get the long lead time procurements and things like that approved next year. So that's 3 beamlines that will come online in about 4 or 5 years' time, depending on the funding profile. But that's also a really good place to be. So those are the things I wanted to mention there. There's one other activity I thought I'd mention, which was a hearing that the Congress had a couple of weeks ago, looking into the Department of Energy's uses, how Department of Energy was useful for the biomedical community. And one of our users, Mark Chance, went there. He's a partner user, runs a partner beamline through the Case Western Reserve University. I thought it was worth noting because he did a fabulous job up there. He really presented the case very strongly for what we generally, and NSLS-II in particular, can do for biomedical research. He focused on drug discovery and the things that we're doing there. And he told me one statistic which I hadn't known before, which was in the last 15 years of the 210 drugs that the FDA approved, that's the number they approved in the last 15 years, 93% were solved at a synchrotron before they were approved. So it's a huge impact that facilities have on everyday human health in this country. So that was a really noteworthy thing to mention and have people know about what we do.
Absolutely.
Just some of the things that are going on right now.
That's very cool. Yeah.
Good.
You no.
Do you have a question, Mike?
Everything.
So, with all of the activity that's going on at NSLS-II now, one of the things that we've kind of talked about in our private UEC meetings, off and on, is what potential impact we might be seeing as some of the other synchrotrons go into their upgrade modes. So what do you foresee that being as an impact on NSLS-II here?
Yeah, we've talked about that a lot, and we're coordinating a little bit with the other facilities. We've constructed a matrix, if you like, of all the beamlines across the whole complex and which ones are going to go up and which ones are going to go down and where we're going to see the extra demand come through. The APS, as you know, I think you know, goes down in about 2 years' time for a year. We're expecting to see an influx of users during that period. We haven't made any formal arrangements with them to accommodate those users, so they'll come in through the general user pool typically and compete for that time. And then the ELS is on a much less well-defined schedule, but they'll be after that, also for a similar down period, maybe a year or so of dark time. So there will be changes in demand that goes on when we go through those upgrades.
And I assume that's one of the topics. I know that you just this week had a meeting with all 5 of the light sources in the U.S. getting together.
Exactly.
And I'm assuming that this is probably one of the major topics that you discussed.
We talk about those, so those meetings are really useful. We do them every 6 months. It started off with just the directors ourselves getting together, but now we pull a bunch of other people in and discuss topics of common interest. This particular time we had the data task force that you heard from Stuart. That's one of the coordinating activities that's gone really well. We've gained a lot by working so closely together in the data space. Detector is another area where we're trying to coordinate better because we all have huge detector needs. No one facility can meet those needs, and so working together may be a chance to get new detectors developed. Optics, so there's a big push now to get cryogenically cooled mirrors for the upgrade facilities, and we may also be interested in getting those for the hard X-ray beamlines. So that's something else we're coordinating, working together. And the last piece, which is most relevant to the user community, is we're looking at the proposal management software that we each have. Right now, very distinct, separate systems. They don't talk to each other. You have to write a separate proposal every time you go to a different facility. We don't know what training people have taken across the different facilities. We don't even know if it's the same user across the different facilities. So the idea there is if we can construct a new system which does at least talk to each other across facilities, maybe it's even the same system, then we could get real benefits for the user community in terms of sharing information. It would also allow a user to pull data from one facility and another facility and combine them when they do the analysis. So that's the kind of thing that so that's the sort of thing that this 5-way meeting has allowed us to start exploring, and we've got quite far down that path. I think something like that will happen. I can't give you a time frame yet, but I think it's an exciting possibility for the way we should be using these facilities.
Absolutely. All right. You sure you don't have a question, Mark?
I'm pretty sure we are.
All right, cool. So are there any questions from anyone in the room or online for John? This is awesome. Everybody's getting, I think everybody's afraid of getting hit with the microphone. Yeah, that's really what it is. So if there aren't any other questions, then I will say thank you once again for joining us here.
Thank you, Matt.
So we're winding this show down, which is good, because I'm tired. And there are a couple of announcements quickly that we wanted to make. One of them is this, for anyone that is on campus or available this Friday, the employees here at Brookhaven Lab will be getting together to put on a concert. It's a concert by employees for employees, and it will be Friday starting at, I guess, gathering in Berkner around 5 o'clock, so right after the workday ends. So please, they would love to see as many people as possible there, and if you can join them, that would be excellent. Just to talk a little bit about what the UEC has been doing, we mentioned previously during the show that we have provided the user lounge space that's available in 740. We are also looking at very intensively planning our annual users meeting, the information for which will be going out very shortly. And that users meeting this year, jointly with the CFN users meeting, will take place May 18th through 20th. So please be sure, if you haven't yet, to mark your calendars. There will be some good sessions, and in particular some exciting workshops that will be relevant to both CFN and NSLS-II users. So we would definitely hope to see you there. One of the other things, again, that we are working on doing is an update and overhaul of the NSLS-II UEC website that will provide access links to things like this show, some of the past shows that we've done, the commercials, and member information and contact information. We plan on keeping things up to date online with this show using the Vimeo account that's available, also through YouTube and Twitter, and the email address that I rattled off at the beginning of the show, which is nslS2uec@bnl.gov. So those are some of the major issues that we wanted to bring out. Are there any questions from anyone here that would be relevant for the Users Executive Committee here at the NSLS-II? We are all getting off easy. I'll throw the microphone to myself. I don't care. Like, that's fine.
I wanted to add.
Oh, Simmer, you ready? I'm so going to hit the camera. All right. Oh! Oh yeah.
So I just wanted to add that we are seeking nominations for UEC next year. So please feel free to nominate yourself or the colleague you know. We always like to have diverse set of people from faculty, students, and users to represent the users. So the nominations will be open soon. So please think of people you would like to nominate for the UEC for the coming year. Thank you.
Absolutely. Speaking of, very important, we're going to bounce. No, speaking of the UEC nominations, there is something that I wanted to point out before we close the show today, and that is our lovely co-host, Mark Dean. This will sadly be his last NSLS-II UEC show because he's cycling off the UEC. So I wanted to make sure that everybody here gives Mark a big round of applause for doing this with us this year. And very importantly, if you think you have what it takes to sit on this couch, you should definitely submit your name for the UEC nominations. And at this time, if there are no further questions from anyone else here in the room or online, then we're going to wrap this bad boy up. I would like to thank everyone again for attending, and especially Mark, thank you very much. This has been an awesome year.
My pleasure.
And I want to thank, in particular, the production team. Tim, Jess, thank you guys very much for putting all of this together once again. And we will be back again soon enough, and just look for those interesting little video clips that you're going to get in the email to let you know about the next show. Thank everybody for joining us online, and we will see you again soon. Thank you.